All right. Put it on my acting face. See, there it is. Did you hear it? That was it. That was it. That's what I was telling you that I do. That I hate. That Nat pointed
I
out that I
mean,
do.
maybe that's your signature smack. I mean, I
Maybe
think you should own it. Just go with it.
we should now play Prodigy Smack My Bitch Up right now.
Smack my bitch up.
Hello and welcome to the You Show Show. It is the show where you show things. I am Kelvin Lays McMurray, and today I am joined again by my good friend Jenine Early. Janine, hello and welcome back to the studio.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's good to have you back. My lawyers are here, and they're gonna be prevalent later on in the episode. We'll get there when we get there, but just pay no mind to them. I know they're staring at us, but don't worry about it. It's okay. They're meant to be there.
Should I call mine in or should we leave them out?
Yes, definitely have your lawyer on speed dial for this episode. One thing thinking about it, last episode, 45 minutes of the episode was talking about us being motion graphic designers and just announcing our job title. And I was thinking of something too just now where other similarities. So we have the same job title. You have a super adorable little dog.
Yes, it looks like a little Muppet.
Yeah. I just haven't met her IRL, but I've seen photos. She's adorable. And then I have an adorable little dog that you've met. So you have an adorable dog. I have an adorable dog. You have an adorable husband. And I have an adorable girlfriend. So I think really we're just like the same person.
I think so too.
We both like Calvin and Hobbes. We both like The Far Side. Like, I think it's just like, for everyone listening at home, it's probably just going to sound like an echo, like me just talking twice, and they're going to be like, wow, Calvin's really hit rock bottom. He's only talking to himself now on his show. That's pretty cool.
Well, are we twins separated at birth at some point?
We might be.
Interesting.
I was a blonde when I was a kid,
Oh,
so maybe.
I'm going to go talk to my mom. I'll be right back.
I was just going to say the same thing. Oh my God. I'm not even kidding you. Fuck you. You beat me to the punchline. I was going to be like, yo, I'm going to get my mom on the horn. I'm going to have some words with her, so...
You mean our mom?
Oh, all right. I gotta go. I'm hanging up the phone. I gotta go. Bye. Anyway, last week we talked about Calvin and Hobbes, the amazing comic by Bill Watterson, and today we are here to talk about The Far Side, another amazing comic that ran for about 10 years as well, starting in the 80s, going into the 90s. But unlike Calvin and Hobbes, The Far Side goes a little bit more obscure, abstract. What's the word? Random. I always think of The Far Side as imagine having a TV from the 90s, back before you could like they have like the guided menu now. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Imagine before that, and you just had the TV remote and it had volume up, volume down, channel up, channel down, and power, and that was it.
Yep.
Watching or reading The Far Side is like clicking the channel button up in one direction and just clicking it, and it's like one episode is about animals, one episode is about a man lost on a desert island, one episode is about construction workers in a city, one episode is about two cows talking to each other, and that is The Far Side. I believe you said that you had read some of The Far Side before this, correct?
Yeah, you know what's funny? I just now realized I had one of those little calendars.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like a one-day calendar with Far Side comics on it. That's what I had.
That was probably his, actually, those calendars actually sold more than his books, I believe.
Really?
Yes, those calendars were his bread and butter.
Interesting.
Similar to Bill Watterson, he did not stretch his product into full commercialism. I think he made a couple of cow toys. I believe he did. A couple of cow plushies. Cows are a major thing for Watterson and or not Watterson. Oh my gosh, for The Far Side. Thank you, Gary Larson. And but the calendars, yeah, because it all of his comics are always one frame. right? I don't
Yes,
think there's any
exactly.
two-frame comics. Everyone is just a still image, and so he would give you 365 pieces of paper, and you would tear it off, and then the next day was a new Far Side comic ready and waiting for you. And yeah, those comics, those calendars, yeah, made bank. So
I still have some from like the 90s that I just kind of kept. And I think that's kind of what's cool about them. Yeah.
and with that too, like that same idea is like growing up. Uh, I would go to people's houses, and yeah, they'd be like stuck like with magnets on everybody's refrigerators.
Yes.
Like that's and Calvin and Hobbes too, even ripped right out of the paper. It would just be magnets right in the fridge, and like. And it was one of those things like you would walk into somebody's house and it's like, oh, you got Calvin and Hobbes and Farsides in your fridge. Like, you can be cool as fuck. I know I can be real with you. I don't have to worry about my language and who I am as a person. So thank you.
It was like old school Pinterest.
Exactly. And like you can go on like Instagram right now and you can go on like Reels and Facebook and TikTok. But it's like, I kind of feel like the Far Side was kind of like the first to do that oddly because it's so random.
Mm-hmm.
The only cohesiveness out of all of his comics is everyone is dumb. That's really the only thing that connects these books. Even animals are dumb. Everyone is dumb, but for very different reasons. So I guess coming back to the Far Side or maybe kind of venturing into some of it anew, what were your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the Far Side?
Oh my gosh. Can I just tell you one of my favorite ones?
Please do.
Oh, it's so dumb. Yeah, like I never really thought about it. You're right. It's just all about dumb people. It's a little boy holding some books at the top of the stairs, and he's pushing on a big door. And in front, there's a sign that says the Midvale School for the Gifted.
Yep.
And he's pushing as hard as he can on this door that says pull.
Pull. Yep.
It's so simple. It's the perfect one-liner, and it's hilarious.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because I was gonna. That's actually that right there is actually his most controversial comic.
Oh no, I did not know that. Hasn't it been the most like parodied too?
Probably. It's one of his most famous ones that he has done for both good and bad reasons. It does come at the expense of people with special needs, but it is really funny. I'm sorry, it is.
I didn't know that.
I love it. Yeah. So people when this came out in the 80s and the 90s, people were writing their newspapers saying, like, I'm not subscribing to your newspaper anymore. He was actually a little bit controversial. Which is really bizarre because so his comics often imply violence, but it's usually before violence, but sometimes it's the aftermath of violence. But you never see it. It's not a violent cartoon. There's not blood, there's not gore. It just implies that there's going to be some.
Huh.
And yeah, there were a lot of people that complained that like there were offensive, insulting, but I think that they're not, and I think that they're really smart, and you just have to maybe accept that he has a different ideology of life than you do. Who's the art? Oh my god, I'm losing my mind. Gary Larson. I keep wanting to say Bill Watterson. Spoiler alert for everyone listening at home. We do these episodes back to back, so we just ended the Calvin and Hobbes one. Gary Larson, thank you. He went to school actually originally to become a biologist. And there was like an interview with him, and he was basically saying how like he could never figure out how he was going to make a career out of biology. And then, funny little side rabbit trail, he actually then tried to become a famous banjo player. And that didn't really work out. And then he got into drawing and comics, and that's then where the Far Side. It was originally the comic, I think it was called like Nature's Side. It had a different name, I can't remember, but anyway, it got picked up later on as the Far Side, and that's how we have it now. But his influence of biology, I think, is in the comic because he's very much a naturalist, that nature will always win. We can think that we are super smart because we have amazing technology and we have medicine and all this stuff to prolong life, but at the end of the day, nature is smarter because it's older than us, and it's been there and it always will. And there were people that I think thought it anti-Christian in a lot of ways. And I think that's where a lot of the offense came from.
Oh, wow.
because it kind of doesn't go against God, but there are even some comic strips where God kind of looks like an idiot. So that's just the joke, is wherever there is life, there is stupidity. And that is his philosophy. Take it or leave it. But I love it. I don't think it's offensive. I think it's funny as hell. I think that it's similar, we were talking about like Calvin and Hobbes, of how it can Calvin and Hobbes will take like 3 to like 6 frames. This one is literally 1 frame.
Yep.
And it can tell a story magnificently. So I guess coming back to it, like, what was your thoughts and feelings on The Far Side?
It was like little quick jokes, little quick one-liners, and I think that's what the simplicity, but I want to say the simplicity is what was kind of nice about it, but it wasn't simplistic, like you were saying. It's actually way more complex, but it comes off, it's just one little page, and there's a lot in that one little page, and it's just a lot of times it was just really surprising, and I think that's what makes you laugh.
And it's just random. It's just a collection of the most random shit that you'll ever see. Like, so I took some. So the reasons that we had to get lawyers involved is I don't own the full bulk collection, and I found a PDF online, and I may have sent it your way. So now we are both in possession of a PDF that was conjured via the internet.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, me neither. That's what my lawyer told me to say. Yeah, exactly. And that's why your lawyer's on the phone as well. So going through the PDF, having been reading it, it's from his entire collection, which is a 2-book collection. It is totally worth getting. I might get it in the near future, but I think you can contest to this, Jenine, is living in Chicago, sometimes having available space in your apartment / condo / house isn't always exactly the most frugal. So and my bookshelf is already quite full, so maybe someday I'll have to get rid of some books before I can get it, I suppose. But
yeah, digital's better sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, it really helps because I already have a tablet, so it's perfect. But I have one. Again, it's a single frame. This came from 6/24/1980. It is a woman, an elderly woman, wearing a dress, and she is shoved in a bird cage, which is hanging from the ceiling, and she's tucked in the corner. Her whole body's crammed in this bird cage, and the bird is flying away, and underneath it, she says, "You'll never get away with this." And so, like, that's the beauty of this comic, is, like, how did this woman get in this situation to get her body crammed in this bird cage, and now the bird is escaping, like, the bird is getting free. And what does "you'll never get away with this" mean? Because clearly the bird has, so is there something else that we don't know? And that's where, again, it's just like, it tells there's like so many things to unpack in one singular frame that it's hilarious.
That's brilliant.
There's another one where it's like a desert landscape, and there's a wooden signpost, and then you see a hat and a paintbrush, and on the sign it says "Danger, Quicksand," but then it's like SAN, and then the D slowly falls off the bottom of the page to imply that this person got sunk into the quicksand. But if they have the capabilities of doing something, why are they painting a sign that says "Danger, Quicksand"? And then the humor also comes the fact that this person couldn't finish the word sand. Like, it's fucking hilarious. Like, it's just bananas random shit.
Yeah.
Oh man, we used to go up north when I was a kid. There was this family we used to go see a lot when I was younger, and they had like a lot of the Far Side books. And I remember every time I went, I would grab the books and go off and just read my own. And I remember my mom would laugh because she could hear me laughing so hard as a kid, just seeing these things out loud. And sometimes too, it takes like a minute for it to truly click. And then when it does, like, dude, I've probably seriously teared up at this comic like more times than I can count.
That's fantastic.
So I would say how did you read it? How did you kind of come back into it?
It's funny. It's like, how did it even like start? I just feel like it's like always been there. Like, it's just always there. Like you said, it's on people's refrigerators, or it's just kind of like it was. I don't even really know how I ended up with that calendar.
Yeah, it
I
just it
think it was
just
a gift, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, it just appeared and it never left.
Yes. And it's just always there. So I feel like that's how it just lives in my life, you know? And then you have to keep the ones you like the best. You just hold on to them in some way.
Yeah, and like there it's I would say similar to like Kelvin and Hobbes is again it's pretty timeless. Like the humor worked then and it'll work now. Like I'm looking at one and it's like it's two people and they're decked to the T in like winter exploration clothes. Like they've got the snowshoes on and like really thick heavy winter parkas. And you see one guy with his arms open. It looks like they're in Antarctica. And behind him is another person just floating up into the air. So you can see, the penmanship implies that this person is just floating up into the air. And the guy goes, "We're here, Eric, Antarctica, bottom of the world." So it's implying that like gravity is just gone at this spot because they're at the bottom of the world, but it only affects this one person.
Oh my god.
And it's just like, again, like, doesn't matter if you're reading this in 1985 or
Yes.
2025, that's still funny because people can understand that maybe at the very bottom of the earth there's no gravity. It's just funny. It's just silly. It's just bizarre, crazy, random shit.
Maybe I mean, to be honest, I haven't read tons of The Far Side. So maybe it seems like it doesn't touch on anything political. It doesn't touch on anything current. And maybe that's what makes it so timeless. Like one of my favorites is this one where it's like a spider and it had clearly spent all this time making a spider web, and it kind of backs up and now it's sitting on a leaf looking at this beautiful spider web it's made, but it's completely wrong. Like all the lines are in the weird spot. It does not look like a normal spider web. Like they're just kind of random. Some pieces are just kind of hanging off. And at the bottom it just says, "Whoa, that can't be right." Like it's just it doesn't mean anything. It's just funny because it's so random.
I kind of feel like if anyone's listening that has never read this comic, I kind of wish I could be that person listening to us talk about this and being like, "What the fuck are these losers on about?" Because I don't know if this stuff is funny to anyone that hasn't seen it, and that's
I
why
know.
I think it's really funny that we picked comics to talk about. Like I said, we both, you and me, are video audio people.
Visual.
We're
Yeah, yeah.
visual people, and we picked a 100% visual medium with a 0% audio quality, and now we have to sit here and explain it to people that have possibly never seen it. Fucking great. But yeah, I would say that like I think like some very very few are a little bit like timed of whatever it's what do you call it like comedy that is only relevant to a specific time and place. There's like a little teeny tiny bit of it, and similar to Calvin Hobbes, there's some jokes that I don't get, but it's not politically charged. It's not like Republicans are idiots. The comics, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like it's just a guy that I've always felt like I feel like he's a person, and I could be very wrong about this, that has done quite a bit of traveling and has just seen things throughout his life. And while in that moment he had a funny idea, what if this thing did that? And then he, wrote it down as like a note or a quick sketch, and then came back and perfected it. And because I mean, like his comics do go literally not only everywhere but like over time as well. Like a lot of his drawings go back to the prehistoric era with cavemen. And again, like the silliness to think that these people were our ancestors. And then obviously there's modern times. There's like space aliens that don't even have anything to do with Earth. They're obviously, I think for a lot of people, myself included, being born and raised in Wisconsin, was the cows, because
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
drive around Wisconsin and you cannot make it in 10 minutes in any direction without seeing a herd of cows.
Or smelling them.
Yeah. And so I always feel like, again, like it was just like he was driving around and he saw cows and he was like, "Hey, what if one of them did this?" And then he wrote it down. But yeah, it's not offensive. It's not gory, but there is, like I said, there's always implied violence. Like there was one. All it is, it's a group of people packed in an elevator. And a guy is a lion trainer, and he has the lion on the elevator with
my
all
God.
these people. And you see the elevator doors closing, and its tail is about to get pinched in the door. And that's it. And it's just
Yikes.
like, it's like, the very second that door closes, everyone in that elevator is going to die. But you don't see it. And it's only in your head. And it's funny as hell. I think, like, in terms of, like the politicalness of it, it's always like because there are some jokes on like government and military, but it's not aimed directly at any one specific thing. Like I have one right here, and it's if you've ever been on the interstate and you see all those military vehicles driving up and down, like the armored,
Yeah.
and they got like trucks that are carrying equipment. So this one is one of those U.S. Army trucks. It's got the Army star on the side, and it's carrying a giant missile, like a ginormous missile that you can tell is used to like be launched somewhere. And it says, "Our lights are on for safety." And I think that it's like, again, he's not making fun of the Army. He's not, but it's like you understand kind of the irony in this situation. This is a
Yes.
person transporting a giant missile. It reminds me of have you ever seen Dr. Strangelove?
No, actually, I haven't.
Oh, that is
I know.
it's a good movie, and I highly recommend it. I won't spoil anything, but there's a really brief scene. Most of the movie takes place in the war room, where they're analyzing the situation of what's going on, and it's called the war room. And two people, a Russian and an American, get in a physical fight. And the president of the United States, played wonderfully by Peter Seller, is I'm terrible with names. I don't know if you can tell that yet. Names don't stick with me at all. But anyway, the president says to these two men fighting, he goes, "You can't fight in here. This is the war room." And it's just pure comedy gold. Anyway, Dr. Strangelove, I should get somebody that I can talk to that movie about with on this show sometime. But yeah, I think that
All right, so that's interesting that you were talking about the potential violence, which I never really thought about. But now I almost feel like there's a different take on these. So one of my other favorite ones is the one where, and I don't know if you remember this, it's three guys sitting in a bar, and there's two normal sized dudes, and then there's clearly one giant man sitting next to another man, and he has this very little hat on. They all have like cowboy hats on, and he has this tiny hat on. And the guy sitting next to the big guy just kind of turns and looks over at him and says, "Say, now there's a little hat." And it's just so ridiculous and stupid, but I never thought about like, oh, and the big guy happens to have a giant rifle sitting on the bar that he's holding naturally. So it's like, all right, yeah, this is definitely some potential violence about to happen.
yeah, and it's like, but it's also, again, it's like violence spread out throughout the ages. We've gone from violence of cavemen to violence of like cowboys in the Wild Wild West, and violence in modern day. I'm looking at one right now. It's a dude's apartment. There's just a single chair in the corner of the room and a window, and the moon's out. And then there's a man, I think he's dead, or at least he's been beaten up, and he's laying on the floor with a painting easel on top of him, and then a painting of this man, but he's painted with the most horrendous face in the world. So it implies that the man saw the painting and then beat the shit out of this painter and just laughed. And it's just like, that's the scene. No words, nothing. And it's just, that's it. And again, like the ability to tell a story with one frame, and even some of the most memorable ones too, like the one you talked about where the little boy is at the special needs school and he's at the pushing on the door and it says pull. No words. There's no dialogue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's all told magnificently through a single frame, and it's awesome and it's amazing, and I love it. Similarly to, we were talking about like Calvin and Hobbes. There are no actual digital versions available, which is kind of a bummer because he actually has come back. Like, his website is up again. And I think he's like coming out with some new stuff, or has recently come out with some new stuff, some new content.
Oh, wow.
I don't really know. I haven't really dug into it yet, but I feel like this is something that like a digital collection would be really cool. But again, maybe he just really wants the books, and I get that. Similar with Bill Watterson, and But there are like Facebook groups and websites where, again, you can just, it's just like a once daily quick little comic of like, again, this is the one that aired in 1980, you know? And so it's definitely, if anyone has an interest in checking out The Far Side, it is definitely, you can find it online. I would have to imagine those calendars still have to be for sale, right? Like, I don't know. Actually,
Right? Yeah,
I don't know.
that's the thing though. I feel like, people don't really use those one a day calendars anymore, That's the thing. Yeah.
Let's bring that. We'll bring it back.
So sad.
Bring back the once a day paper calendar because your phone doesn't just do that in 2 seconds. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely like I feel like too in a lot of ways this was kind of the voice of the 80s and 90s. Like
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like similar to Calvin and Hobbes, like you can read it at any point, you can understand the humor, but I don't know if this would actually have done well in today's day and age.
That's an interesting point. Yeah. I don't know. Do you think like humor in general, especially now there's like I feel like The Simpsons, wouldn't you say they were like the first cartoon that was for like adults that was, and I feel like now there's so many cartoons that are for adults and the humor is not like this. It's very different
It's
these
very
days.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I see a lot of, and I'm sure you do too, is like the constant acceptance of lowering of quality. Like
Mm.
there's some things that I've seen on Instagram where it's like a person lip syncing and dancing to a song and it gets like 12 million views and I'm like, what? Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm 34 and I'm a man. I don't get it. It's not for me. I completely accept it. But that's, I guess what I'm talking about is with inside of something like this, it's like, I think with this coming out in the 80s, it was like one of those things where, again, if you had that snippet on your fridge, it was like, oh, dude, you're into The Far Side as well, because obviously this came from a time when I couldn't go on your Facebook profile and be like, oh, Janine also likes The Far Side. How cool. We actually had
Right.
to go to each other's house and figure this out about each other. So
Yep. Yeah.
kind of funny. But yeah, it's a good comic, man. I love it. I'm gonna find another. Okay, here's another one. Two men are out in the middle of the desert. One man is like wrapped up in like a sleeping bag. You can tell he had just woken up. His eyes are popped wide open. And above him is another man with a rock standing ready to like come down on him. And on the face of the man that just woke up is a scorpion. He goes, hold still, Carl. Don't move an inch. And again, it's just like, yep, violence is coming because even if he doesn't kill with the rock, then there's a chance he's going to die from the scorpion. So, oh my God.
Fantastic.
Here's another one. Great Wall of China. You can see it expanding off into the background on all of these hills. The wall looks magnificent. You see two men standing on top of spears. And he goes, now we'll see if that dog can get in here. Like, they built this whole wall to keep a dog out. It's funny as hell because again, it's like would people be stupid enough to do this? Maybe, and like maybe the stupidity is like we thought. Obviously people were like, well, to keep the Mongolians out. What if it was a dog? I don't know, man. That's kind of funny if you ask me.
And then there's always the boneless chicken ranch, and it just has the pictures of the chickens looking all floppy, laying around in the field. And I'm a vegetarian. I should take offense to this, but it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It's funny as hell. Oh my God. Here's one. It's like a castle is off in the background of these soldiers. These knights, these medieval knights, are leaving the castle. They're ready for war. They've got their shields and their spears and their armor on, and their helmets have horns. And one guy's got an angry face, and he goes, "Hey, Richard, your stupid dog's following us again." It's just a dog chasing up, getting close to this army. I need to stop because I think I could just do this for like 30 more minutes, just randomly going through this book of like here's an old one of like an old sailor. He's got a hook for a hand and he's sitting in a wooden chair and he's got a peg leg and there's a cat clawing at his wooden leg.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, it's so funny. It's so
It's
stupid.
truly hard to believe that one man kind of came up with all these.
Yeah, and Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, his only were once a week. Like we were talking about, Kelvin and Hobbes would have like the 3 days followed by the Sunday page, and I believe his were only once a week.
Okay.
I don't remember which day. That was in the ancient before times of physical
Yeah.
printed newspaper, whatever century that was in. Um, but yeah, man, it goes all over the place. Cows,
Man.
aliens,
Yeah.
everything you name it, it's all in there. Here's one.
Fantastic.
Cow's eating in the middle of a field, and he's next to a barn, and he looks at the door, and he actually stands up on two back legs, and you see him ring the doorbell. It says ding dong, and then he just runs back into the pasture and is eating. So the farmer comes out and is looking around. Like, I don't know. I guess now that I'm here, I don't even really know what more to say about this goddamn comic. If you haven't checked out The Far Side, I highly recommend it. It's super funny. Gary Larson, I think he was super smart. I think he was a little bit ahead of his time again, and thinking in terms of like content from a pure creation idea that can only be held in like it only works as a comic. Like you could never in a million years turn this into a TV show or a movie or any other syndication thing. You know what I mean? Like
They would be the shortest cartoons.
yeah, like the only thing that comes to mind would be like similarly is like Robot Chicken because they have
Yeah.
that kind of like even like their bumpers in between their segments is like a TV static again implying like changing the channel. Similar to this, but I would have to imagine that some of this was influenced into some TV shows similar to that. I used to. I never drew like Kelvin and Hobbes comics style, but I would draw Far Side style of comics my whole life.
Oh, really? You would try to emulate the drawing style?
And like the humor, the drawing style, the humor, the bizarreness, the randomness. Like I had to like we were talking. I was saying like a while like again, space is limited in this Chicago apartment of ours. So I actually had to get rid of a lot of old artwork recently.
Aw.
Yeah, it was hard, but it's okay. It's just like I don't need this. But there was
Yeah.
a lot of I would say probably 50% of all the artwork in there was probably influenced by the Far Side.
Oh, wow.
Like random, like one frame little random things of like a character. I like there was one where it was like a kid and he had like his eyeballs were popped wide open again in fear, and there was this like shadowy monster behind him, and it said something to the effect of like it's behind me again, isn't it? And
Oh,
that's just like straight out of this.
that's cool.
I think that this led into. Did you ever get into like Adult Swim?
A little bit. Yeah. I think, yeah.
Like I feel like some of this isn't that. Like I was a fan of like. Did you ever watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I think that if anyone were to like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, they would like The Far Side, and probably vice versa. Maybe not. No, actually, I take that back because my dad liked The Far Side. He hated Aqua Teen Hunger Force. I had the DVDs in high school, and he'd come home from work, tell me to turn it off. He'd be like, "I'm not listening to that shit anymore." But yeah, it's worth checking out. It's worth exploring. Like I said, they have the two big books, and then like Kelvin and Hobbes, like we were talking about as well. There's like a trillion little books that you can get along the side. I have three of the smaller books. One of them is called Wiener Dog Art, and it's an artist who has paint cans like all around him on the floor, and then he has an actual wiener dog. So you can. The implication is that he's taking the wiener dog, rolling its back in the paint, and then slapping it on a wet canvas. So you just see all of these wiener dog marks all over the canvas. The dog's face, his eyes are just like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude?" It's so funny.
That's awesome.
Cavemen, cows, bears, space aliens. What more do you need?
I love it.
I love it too. So would you recommend The Far Side by Gary Larson?
I think I would. Yeah, I would definitely recommend. I don't think you're going to be disappointed.
Again, as always, I just want to make sure there's nothing I'm taking away from you if there's any more to talk about on The Far Side, but I really don't know what more there is.
Yeah, I think you just have to read it.
Yeah, this is probably going to be the shortest episode of my podcast because like Kelvin and Hobbes had like themes and stories and characters, and this has none of it. So it's like now that I'm here, I feel quite silly, but whatever, it's fine. It's totally okay. None of this matters. So
I feel like this podcast represents a Far Side comic. It's just
yeah.
short. It's one-liner. Is what it is. Done.
Done.
Next.
In and out. Yeah, it's random, it's chaotic. I'm gonna oh, you know what'd be really funny to do? This is a joke that maybe only you and I will get. We should just end the episode with like us reading the comics and the audio just slowly fades out. Like at the end of it, like some songs end that way. Like the song keeps playing, but you know, it just slowly fades out. It doesn't know how to end.
Oh man.
Here's one. A woman has like her pose is kind of seductive to her husband who is sitting on the couch, and she has like rubber hoses and saws and chainsaws and hammers like tied and like all around her body. She goes, "Excuse me, Harold, while I go slip into something more comfortable."
Okay, here's one. There's a man being confronted by his dog, and they're both holding newspapers rolled up. And the dog says, "No way! I'll put my magazine down when you put yours down." When you put yours down.
Here's one. It's a scientist looking in. What are the stethoscopes? What are they? The fucking eye things where you? I'm not a scientist.
Oh,
Magnifying glass. Yeah. What are those stethoscopes?
Microscope?
Whatever. He's looking at the scientific eye thing, and from the petri dish below, it just says the eye, like they're chanting.
Okay, here's one where they're kangaroos. There are a whole bunch of them jumping in a field, and it says at the bottom, "Just jump, fool. You don't have to go boing, boing, boing."
I know I said this twice now, but I would love to be somebody that's never experienced the Far Side right now. I would do anything to be that person.
This is the best show. It's just us reading Far Side
For just 30 minutes straight. Here's one. There's two people trapped in like one of those like Armageddon underground like stress bunkers. And above them, you can see the ground above them and everything. There are like nuclear explosions in the background and there's fire everywhere. And the wife is pointing at the husband and she said, "Arnold, the bird, you gotta go back up there and get the bird." Oh my God, dude.
So bad. Oh man.
Here's one. It's like a giant penguin, Godzilla-sized penguin. And he's in a city and he's ripping a building in half and people are running away screaming and two cops are looking at each other and he's like, "Other cities get giant gorillas or dinosaurs, but what do we get?" Yeah, dude, The Far Side. Just go check it out. I think, in my opinion, its humor does come through reading like, well, you can read an individual one, but like reading like 20 of them because you start to get that laugh, you start to get that giggle.
Yes.
And then it gets kind of funnier. Like I was reading this, well, like Nat was trying to fall asleep one night, and I mean, I'm not kidding you. I had to like bite my finger and like try to control my like laughter. And I know like she woke up and she was just like, like, "What are you doing?" You know, like I'm trying to sleep, and I can feel your body, you know, giggling over there like a little fucking asshole. Jenine, you recommended a test tagline to roll out our show.
Yes.
That's all right. Before we go into that, is there anything else you want to say about The Far Side?
No, I think we gave it a good intro.
We gave it the good old college try.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Jenine, for coming by and talking briefly about The Far Side. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming to the studio.
Anytime.
All right, folks. Well, that's another fart in the gas can. We'll see you next week. But Jenine, thank you again. And thanks everybody for chiming in for maybe the weirdest episode yet of the podcast. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But thank you, Jenine. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
Bye. There we go. That's it. Yeah, I don't know what more to say about The Far Side. I was just all of a sudden I was like, dude, I got fucking nothing. So
How long was that?
that one was 40 minutes.